countdown to absolute power continues within the pages of Green Arrow issue 13 by Joshua Williamson and Amanke Nahuelpan, and in the pages of The Flash issue 10 by Cy Spurrier, Ramon Perez, and Vasco Georgiev. Beginning with Green Arrow, Oliver, now reunited with his whole family, is forced to leave them in the dead of night, leaving them to wonder where the hell Oliver Queen has gone. Like the Green Lantern book just did, this book is pulling apart its cast of characters just as they get back together, and it's become a little bit of a pet peeve of mine since a few of the books at DC are doing this at the moment, and that's obviously because we're heading into absolute power. But this one really annoyed me because just this last issue, we got the family all back together and they got a somewhat happy ending. To be fair though, the book was only meant to be a 6-issue mini, then it got bumped up to a 12-issue series, and now it's been upgraded to an ongoing. So Williamson kinda just had to keep it going beyond the ending he probably envisioned for the characters. Williamson is cutting back on what books he is actually writing, and I think Green Arrow will be one of those books maybe. So maybe a new writer will come in and sort of set everything straight again and give Oliver his family back. While the family are looking for Oliver, the Green Arrow arrives at the Hall of Order, where he meets with Peacemaker. For those who aren't aware, Oliver has been secretly working with Amanda Waller, having given her access to Sanctuary, the superhero therapy program made infamous by Tom King's much derided Heroes in Crisis series. The Sanctuary thing we actually see a little bit of a payoff of already over in Superman issue 15, as Waller has used the program to help brainwash the Brainiac Queen into joining her side and think that Waller is her mother. The little interaction that Oliver has with Peacemaker here is great, as Oliver is still trying to rationalize why he's teaming with Waller and her cohorts, trying to convince himself that overseeing Waller's armory to make sure everything she's been acquiring is still safe is worthy of his time and effort. While Oliver deals with Peacemaker and Waller's orders, Roy and Leanne break into Belle Reve North to free Cheshire, Leanne's mother. However, it appears to be a little bit of a trap because Peacemaker knew that this was happening and told Oliver all about it, and the prison quickly fills with Wallace's new Argus task force agents. Eventually, as they are trying to escape, Oliver confronts them, sporting a fancy new Argus costume. Again, Williamson does a lot of great character work with Oliver over the course of these panels, exploring why he believes in Waller's plans and what she is doing. It's also pretty in line with the character's politics. Oliver has always been one of the more outspoken liberal heroes, dating way back to the early 80s, where he's even clashed with other more conservative heroes like Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. And Oliver has always been one for change, something he sees Waller is doing, and I like that Williamson is tying his own recent stories, like Oliver trying to get his family back, the hero game that he and all of his family all play, and how it all just never seems to change enough in the world or stay changed long enough. And Oliver sees this as a chance to enact some real change for once. This is a really interesting way to take the character and make him a bit of an antagonist to some of the superhero community, especially since he's usually on the other side of that, where he's the one battling the other villain or other hero who's like kind of turned on their community a little bit. So I like that sort of change up here. Roy tries to convince Oliver to come talk it out with the others and the other heroes, but he's not interested, booting Roy off the mountaintop base, and he's only saved from certain death by Leanne and his wife. Peacemaker isn't too happy that Oliver let him live though, and Williamson uses this opportunity to beat the crap out of Peacemaker again, like a lot of writers have been doing over the past couple of months and years since Peacemaker's sort of re-emergence thanks to the TV series. And I like that he is kind of the butt of the joke around these parts, and no one takes him seriously. Again, Oliver just throws him through a wall, which is really quite great. Uses 2 fingers to do it as well, which is probably a bit more insulting than Chris realizes. I do hope they continue to do this sort of stuff, but I also hope that he does get like that moment where, you know, everything becomes kind of real and he realizes that and ends up coming out as kind of like a competent operative for Waller for a change. Despite throwing Peacemaker around the room, Oliver is quick to remind him that next time his family won't survive. The Arrow family meanwhile are alerted to Oliver's turn thanks to Leanne, Roy, and Cheshire making it back home, and they actually begin to witness Waller's plans come to life as Superman is shot down from the sky, something we've we've been seeing in the previews for Absolute Power, and I believe is the opening of the first issue. The book leaves out on another cliffhanger that sees Connor deciding that if his father is going to abandon his family and the Green Arrow, then he himself will become the Green Arrow again. Connor has been the Green Arrow many times before over the years, and I'm always excited to see it happen. It's really fun. And this time it feels a little bit different though, since Oliver they are up against, now giving the group a little bit more stakes in what's going on, and ties it into a little bit more of a personal vendetta against Waller, because Waller as well was the one who kind of started all of this with the family and kind of kept them split up. So I like that they're sort of bringing it back full circle around to the family having to defeat Waller again. We also get a little bit of a tease just in some dialogue and some, previews of what's happening next in the coming tie-ins for Absolute Power, but we do know the Arrow family are going to be going after Professor Ivo, who we know Waller was after, but Peacemaker and Peacewrecker were unable to find him. So it's going to be interesting to see the family go on an adventure to find Professor Ivo and maybe some more Amazos to help in their battle against Waller and the Bureau of Sovereignty. The Flash issue 10, meanwhile, picks up not long after the events of Green Arrow issue 13, and we pick up with Barry, who is busy dealing with the Justice Buster, the armored bat mech that Batman created to take down the Justice League. The Justice Buster is trying to subdue Flash with the Run Red protocol, an AI that has taken over the costume despite its wearer not wanting to have to deal with an AI when dealing with the Flash, being that it's too slow and can't catch up with the Speedster. The Flash figures out pretty quickly that whoever is in the mech isn't Batman, which means he's able to take them down rather quickly, but not before the pilot, who is actually revealed to be Oliver Queen, takes manual control and knocks Barry down with a well-placed batarang. Now this issue just isn't about Absolute Power and the build-up to that event, as Spurrier cuts in parts with his long-running story arc involving Wally completely losing his memory. The book actually opens with a small sequence before we get to the Barry stuff with the memoryless Wally in the gallery of moments as an archangel finally shows itself to him, and they are the strange beings who have been infecting the Speed Force throughout this entire run. Spurrier's run on Flash, which I recently have been catching up on to review this book, has been excellent and so different from the Jeremy Adams stuff we had before this. It's full of great sci-fi elements that are really big and larger than life, kind of fitting for Flash characters, and I love the concept of the archangels. They fit so well with Wally's Flash. I also like that he's not wasting the entire issue on Absolute Power setup and continues to tell his own well-structured stories. Wally's not the only one touched on, as at the Linear Bureau's HQ, Inspector Pilgrim, Jai, and Rathaway begin to piece together the Archangel's plan, finding that they are manipulating reality. As I said before, the Archangels are just a really cool concept for a villain, since how do you defeat something that's nigh godlike in concept, it doesn't have a physical body per se or a physical mind per se, and it's just weird collection of light and weird shapes. It just looks so cool and so different from what you usually see be a villain in a superhero book. Usually it's a pretty, a stock standard villain, a character with a colorful costume or something, something very familiar looking, but this one has a silhouette that isn't, is very foreign and alien. And that's what's so terrifying about it. It's something we never really see all that much in superhero comics. Barry, meanwhile, continues battling the Justice Buster, which Oliver desperately tries to get under control, but its Run Red protocol keeps trying to kill Barry instead of talk to him. Thanks to the AI being tethered to a bank of servers so it can keep up with the Flash is able to match the signal frequency it is giving off and trace it back to the server farm and trash the entire building. This is a neat use of Barry's ability to see the frequencies via the Speed Force. It's the same way he's able to travel with the Speed Force and go to different planets and different universes. And it's something he doesn't really do that much besides when he's traveling to another universe. So I like that they've brought that in here and kind of used it to help him get one up on a villain. Oliver also tries to reach out to Barry by writing a message for him on the ground with his lasers so that Waller doesn't hear him, which is quite interesting since Oliver was so keen to back Waller in the issue 13 of Green Arrow, but now looks to be working on the inside against her. And I mean, it could just be chalked up to him giving an old friend a bit of a head start in what's going to happen, since he's left between a rock and a hard place and he doesn't want to hurt his friends, but he knows things need to change. So it's going to be interesting to see how how Oliver just kind of develops over the course of this event, and whether he is actually like kind of a double agent just working on the inside against Waller. Jai and the others meanwhile make a pretty big breakthrough on their case against the Archangels, coming to the conclusion that they lied and are trying to blame Wally for everything that has been happening to the Speed Force and everything. The way Jai figures it out is kind of wonderful actually, as he remembers a piece of wisdom his father once told him, which is to change the way you look at things and things around you will change. This is done to kind of set Jai and the Bureau up on their own mission, which is, since the Archangels are so desperate to rid the timeline of speedsters, their job will be to make sure they don't and install more speedsters where some have been taken from. Barry meanwhile corners the Justice Buster with the rest of the Flash family, who blow the suit up and cause Oliver to be ejected and picked up. I was sure that Barry was going to learn that Oliver was inside the suit before it blows up and it's kind of left with him to deal with as they go into absolute power, but he never does. He just believes that they were fighting a random Waller goon. Oliver's mission is also made clear, as he was never meant to actually catch the Flash. This was a sort of test run, and it was just Waller proving that Batman's tech that she has on hand is so outdated and they can't deal with the heroes anymore with it. So they need to find more reliable, stronger technology, probably meaning the stuff we've already seen her get from Brainiac, Queen, Failsafe, and the Amazos. The book closes out on a pretty big twist as we return to Wally, who is approached by the Archangel, and thanks to his mind being completely empty, which the Angle wanted and made happen, they can now install the Crown of Thorns into his mind. Now this isn't thorns as in the small sharp plant on a rose, but thorn as in Eobard Thorn, as the Archangel brings Thorn into Wally's mind so they can finally kill time itself. Now this is a pretty huge revelation to finish the book out before we move into a big event, so it's kind of blue balling to the max here, but I'm really interested to learn what the hell is going on. Like, what is this crown exactly? Does this mean that Eobard is now in Wally's mind? Is it just the idea of Thorn getting into Wally's mind and taking him over to kill time? Like, what the hell is going on? Suspiria has me hooked and I cannot wait to find out, and I really hope we don't have to wait all through Absolute Power to find out what's going on with Wally. We probably will, because I believe the tie-ins are tied in with Barry, not Wally, and it kind of makes sense since Wally is off, you know, in the Spectraverse, in the Gallery of Moments, so it kind of makes sense for him to sort of be off the book for a little bit, for at least 3 issues. So the suspense is just going to be killing me. Like, what does this mean for Wally West now? He has a crown of thorns in his mind. What does that mean? It's really interesting stuff. Again, real big, hard sci-fi stuff that I'm so glad Spurrier got allowed to do in a Flash book. Both Green Arrow issue 13 and The Flash issue 10 were fantastic standalone books in their own right, and even better preludes to Absolute Power, setting both Green Arrow and The Flash on some interesting story paths for the event. I will say this though, I enjoyed the Flash book a lot more than the Green Arrow book, just from all of the weird sci-fi concepts that Cy Spurrier is doing, with all these great new villains like the Archangels and concepts like the Gallery of Moments and the Spectraverse. Really cool looking things. I'm looking forward to seeing how both writing teams deal with the fallout of Absolute Power and their upcoming story arcs post the event. I am going to give Green Arrow issue 13 an 8 out of 10, and I'm going to give The Flash issue 10 a 9 out of 10.